Hey everybody, this is the last project that I finished before my shoulder surgery, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I don't seem to have the footage of this from the very beginning. Basically, this was just a log. This is a piece of butternut, and it was just a whole log, so it still had the bark on it all the way around. And I'm turning it in spindle orientation. I'm going to make a Hollowform vase kind of a thing out of it, hopefully. That's the plan anyway. I have it mounted on the larger of the two faceplates that I have, and I am using my Thompson 5/8 bowl gouge with a 60-degree grind and swept-back wings to do the initial shaping. I'm removing a reasonable amount of material, so I've got the big bowl gouge. As I get into this a little bit further, you're going to notice that I'm having a heck of a time getting a smooth cut here, and I still don't really know why. It's mounted very securely. There are a couple of cracks, but they're relatively small, and I just would not think that that would be a huge deal. There are a handful of places where there were branches, and I guess maybe it can just be the difference in wood density. I don't know, but it ends up being more of a struggle than it ought to be. I've switched to my 40/40 grind, which is on a half-inch bowl gouge, to try and work on what at this point is supposed to be the base. That may or may not remain the case throughout the video. You'll have to stick around and see. That's a 3/8 inch beading and parting tool, and that squealing is from that crack and from the vibration, but I don't think that that should have translated to me not being able to get a smooth cut across the body of this vase. I tried all the tools. I used a bowl gouge. I used several bowl gouges. I used a spindle gouge, and now I'm on to a negative rake scraper. And here I'm shear scraping with a spear point tool. Oh my gosh, you guys. Well, I really just can't see anything. I don't know which camera you're going to be able to see this in best, but you know how gnarly your face shield gets after having all of the Starbond and finishes and everything splash all up over it. I got some cracks in these. I forgot I ordered replacement visor shields from Amazon. I'll put a link to them in the description because I just put a new one in my visor and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see! Yeah, okay, so in perfect keeping with how I roll, I've changed my mind how I'm going to do this. I had so much trouble trying to get the shape smooth that I really ended up with this being narrower at the neck than I wanted. So what I'm going to do, because I haven't really done anything yet, I'm going to prepare this and put my smaller faceplate on, turn this around, make this the bottom and this the top, which is really more the shape that I kind of wanted anyway. I need to put a poster with some Hollowform shapes up in my shop because I have such a hard time. I know what I like when I see it, but then, in true woodturner form, you start with a giant tree log and you end up with a toothpick. So I'm going to change this around and make this more of a bottom narrower than the top Hollowform. So I'm just going to clean this bottom up, flatten it off, and put my Laguna faceplate on here, the small one. I should have plenty of meat in there. Famous last words, but we'll see. did a little shopping when I was at my dad's last time. Came home with a whole bunch of good stuff. I got a nice little Jacob's chuck and a handle for making little indents in the bottom, and another nice Jacob's chuck that has a flat side so that I can grip this in my Supernova chuck and use it for sanding, and a handful of other things. It's nice to have a dad who was a machinist and then who also went to a gazillion estate sales and auctions and things. Really nice quality machinist tools, so I get good things like really nice squares and scales and things. Anyway, alright, let's drill a little hole because I'm going to try to locate this as much as in the center as I can. I've never actually done this, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to have trouble because there's a nublet there. Let's see if I can get rid of that first. That's better. Okay, I have just a little dowel that fits pretty well down in the middle of my center. I think I'll just do that. I was doing what I do the other day and talking to myself, and Marie asked me if I do that when nobody's around, and I said yes, of course I do. That is, no, that's not it. Maybe this one fits. What size are you, little guy? Are you this size? No, whatever, that works. Anyway, she asked me if I talked to myself when no one was around. And I said, well, yes. I said, and this is one reason why I don't understand people who don't have an internal dialogue. I don't know how that works. I do not understand that at all. Makes absolutely no sense to me. Get it close and we'll clean it up. All right, let's try this again. I already like the shape better in this orientation. I only used 1.5" screws, but I'm going to have to take an awful lot of material off to get through them. I marked the inside diameter of where the screw holes were, just so that I had a little better idea of how far in I needed to go. I think actually the first thing that I should do is come back from the bottom and just smooth this out so that I know what curve I've got coming up here to the top, and I can make it look like I meant to do this all along. Or something. I'm still not getting a real smooth cut. The negative rake scraper does seem to work a little bit better, which makes sense because you're not riding a bevel at all. But I'm really paying attention and trying to not push the bevel against the wood and just sort of glide it. So I really don't know if this is a product of me bouncing off of the bevel or if it's just the wood. But I fought this the whole damn time. I went ahead and added some medium Starbond sea glue to that crack But I'm also going to try a technique that I learned from a woodturner that I met at one of Marie's art fairs. And a lot of people use duct tape for this, but he uses wire. All I had handy was this galvanized wire. In the future, I'll use brass or copper. This is just fine for what I'm doing with it. But that's just going to make sure that that crack is not going to be able to split this piece apart like, kindling. That's going to be the bottom of the vase, and that keeps me clear of the screws from the faceplate and the wire. I like that curve well enough for the bottom part, and now I'm going to come back up and see if I can't get rid of the screw holes from the first faceplate. Well, it's definitely changing the design a little bit. I had hoped to be able to use all of the length of what I've got left here, but I'm just going to have to keep coming back until I get out of them. This is a little golden mean kind of calculator thing that I bought from Daryl over at Dreadnought Workshop. Um, it's going to be all right. The widest part of the vase is going to be about the right proportion for the overall height. I just think that it would have looked nicer if I could have made it a little bit taller, but you know, sometimes it just doesn't go how you want it to, and that's okay. I keep thinking I've got past the screw holes, and then nope, there's one left. Rats. That seems an awful lot deeper than an inch and a half in from where I had started, but there it is, still a screw hole. I guess we'll just keep coming back until we get all the way through it. And this is example 529, why woodturners start with a giant log and end up with a very small thing. Because, things just go sideways, and there are design changes, and yeah. I think actually that I'm going to sand the outside of this some, and then I'm going to get my hollowing system set up, so I'll bring you guys back when I have that done. Alright, I got all ahead of myself. I got my hollowing system set up, and then realized I didn't drill a clearance hole or a depth hole or anything, so we're going to do that now. I'm going to start with a Forstner bit and just get some of this out, and then I'm probably going to use I've got some twist bits that have a Morse taper on them to do the depth. So I'm going to go forwards and go about, that's about 450. Let's see how that goes. Because this is end grain and it actually seems to kind of be going all right, I'm going to try and go in a little further, I think, with the Forstner bit. Let's see how bad I'm pressing my luck here. And that should be pretty darn close to where I want my final depth to be. So it's going to be, well, from here, let's say 6.3. Yeah, that's good enough. When I first got started, I did not think that was going to work very well, but it did behave itself. So, all right, get this guy out of there, which is going to be hot. Hot, 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 hot. He's just going to stay right there because he's hot. Now, before I put the hollowing system on, actually, I should probably finish doing whatever it is I'm going to do to this rim, which is just get rid of this little collar, I think. I think I'm going to just round this in some. I'm going to go ahead and hog out some of this material in the rim area, and that's just a regular round carbide tool. It's not a negative rake, it's just a flat top. And then I'm going to use my Lyle Jamieson hollowing system to do the rest of it. There's really not a good way to record this, and it's a little bit boring anyway, so you get the gist of it. I did put up a video about that. Oh, I forgot how much more work these are than a bowl. Even with a nice hollowing rig, it takes a long time to get all that stuff out of there. But I'm happy with how it came out. I like the shape. I like the little rolled rim. Sanded, ready to go. I think I am going to burn. I'm just going to put a burn line in here for a little bit of delineation. So I think I'm going to do that. Now the question is, I think I'll try it with wire. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in reverse. I should probably put this on just in case something explodes. We don't want that to happen. Well, we don't want it to happen anyway, but we also don't want it to bash us in the face if it does happen. Okay. Backwards is fine. Gotta go fast. This took a ridiculously long time to burn this line in. I think the problem is that even after I turn the speed up, it's still not fast enough. It probably should have been closer to 1500. Eventually I did get a burn, but it took longer than it should have. And I just have a tendency to turn slower than maybe I ought to. I don't know. There we go. Okay, let's start doing some finishing. Let's see what it looks like. Blew it off with a compressor again, wiped it off with denatured alcohol, and then I put a 1 pound cut of shellac on, let that dry, and denibbed it with a gray Scotch Brite pad. Put on it. Oh, that is way too big a nozzle. Rats. I forgot. different bottle. Whoops! I'm adding a coat of 3-pound cut shellac over the 1-pound just to give it a little bit more shine. Now I'm putting on Brad's abrasive sanding paste, and then I'll work that in and buff that back off. It looks a little funny from the camera angles, but my hands aren't anywhere near the wire that's wrapped around the bottom of the base here. I did twist it together and fold it down so there's nothing sticking up, but I still wouldn't want to catch my hands on it. So do be aware if you use wire rather than duct tape that you want to make sure you know where things are always. All right, that's looking nice. Gonna put the tongue honey on it. All right, I'm gonna let that sit, maybe overnight even, and come back and buff it and part it off. Yep, much happier with this shape than I was the other. All right, I let that sit overnight and soak in whatever it was gonna soak in. Now I'm gonna buff it up and we'll get it parted off. I finished the inside with a 3-pound cut of shellac, and I just squirted some in there and slopped it around with a foam brush until I got everything covered. These branches make me think of Munch's painting The Scream. Well, the grain is beautiful, and I'm pretty happy with the shape considering that I didn't really have the full blank to work with. I would have liked it if it were a little bit taller, but you know, this is really my first largish hollow form, and I'm definitely going to be doing more. And this definitely reminds me of The Scream. Or is it E.T.? Maybe Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh? I don't know. What do you guys think? So I want to take a minute and thank all of you guys who have stuck with me this past year when I've gotten a bit sidetracked with things that aren't wood turning. That's going to happen time to time, but I'm really excited to get back into the shop and start making some stuff again. Bailey got his own video this week, so if you haven't seen that, you can check that out. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, y'all be safe out there.